anxiety, depression, and insomnia. But in this case, one of our customers, she got tinnitus, ringing in the ears, severe, vertigo. Sorry, I think vertigo is the primary symptom. And actually, I fill you in. She had vertigo to begin with before she came to us. She's been on the program several months, not a single episode of vertigo the whole time. So she's doing much better. Most of her symptoms have cleared up. Still a couple of tiny lingering things. Of course, got her on iodine recently, as I've been mentioning. It's been something I've been adding to people who have been already on the program and haven't gotten perfect results. And she's doing great on that. But she had some stomach pain, went into the hospital. They gave her Pepto-Bismol. Pepto-Bismol has aspartame in it. There's quite a lot of aspartame in it. And if you are sensitive to it, it could cause a pretty severe reaction, much like an allergic reaction. In her case, it brought her vertigo symptoms right back, and she didn't know what to do. So it's a bit of a weird case because you might not know what to do. They're already on the products. She's already avoiding the bad foods. You can't just say, well, avoid the bad foods more and take more of the 90. Doesn't really make sense. She's on proper doses. So the only thing I could think of is if you got something in the body that needs to come out, maybe I should pose this to you guys as a question. I guess that's more appropriate. What do you guys think? What would you do? I'll give you a clue. I only did one thing. It's one ingredient. Good to see you, Gingy. Vitamin C. And you know, this lady, she's one of these people that has a cupboard full of supplements. You know, she's got a bunch of stuff. So I asked, do you have any vitamin C? She says, oh yeah, I have liposomal vitamin C. I take it every day. I said, how much do you take? She takes about 1 gram and 1,000 milligrams, which of course is like 9 times more potent than regular vitamin C. So let's call it 9 grams of vitamin C, which is a great dose. And she's on Tangy, you know, so that's another at least 1,000 or 1,200, assuming she's only taking 1 serving. So 10 grams, I mean, that's pretty good. But it's an older woman and she's on her healing journey still. Just because she's gotten a lot of result doesn't mean that she's fully topped up on everything. And whenever the body's sick or trying to deal with something, it's going to deplete vitamin C fast. There's some key nutrients, it's just going to deplete very, very fast. And vitamin C is one of them. So even though she's on, I would call that a high daily dose. That's a solid daily dose, more than most of us are taking. I told her to triple it, triple the liposomal. And because I knew she would do it, I said, just go out and get regular ascorbic acid, just pure ascorbic acid. Because I do want to see the bowel tolerance. I like the powder because you are able to see if they get diarrhea, then that's a clue that they've had enough. Well, 1 gram, she tripled the liposomal, but 1 gram of the regular ascorbic acid powder gave her diarrhea immediately. And I thought, well, maybe she does have enough vitamin C because she does take fairly high dose, and so did the vertigo. So she was very, very happy. The vertigo was gone very, very, very quickly. Like, you got to eat something. She wasn't eating, so at least eat some eggs. And I recommended protein powder. I'm not sure if she did that because the vitamin C just fixed it. But I did Google it, how to get rid of aspartame. And yeah, they're saying hydration, and I did find somewhere in here they're talking about vitamin C, but they were talking about just juices and stuff. Yeah, to get something out of the body quick and something that you can just like go out to the grocery store and buy, vitamin C. There's other things that might have worked, but I have so much trouble with this word, atherosclerosis. Atherosclerosis. And arteriosclerosis. Very similar things. One is clogging the veins, the other one is hardening or damaging the veins. And sclerosis itself kind of means hardening. Something that hardens up or gets damaged. Weird word. These are all weird words here. This is basically part of cardiovascular disease, or even the most problematic part of cardiovascular disease. And of course, cardiovascular disease is basically part of the metabolic syndrome. Because when you have increased blood sugar, you kind of automatically have a circulation problem. All these same words here are kind of the same thing. Cardiovascular disease, the vascular system, and atherosclerosis, same sort of basic thing. Heart disease. blood sugar. This is one of the most common causes. I wouldn't even call it a cause, though. They just work together. Processed foods and nutrient deficiencies cause both of them. The most common theory that I see, including from Dr. Wallach, is free radicals can do both of these things. Free radicals can damage the arteries themselves, damage the veins themselves, and cause them to harden. And it can also oxidize fats that are floating around in the blood, including cholesterol. And this is just a theory for explaining it. There's a bunch of different theories that I kind of buy half into. They're probably all relevant in some way, but Dr. Wallach says that it's the cholesterol that's been oxidized that actually clogs up. Some other people say, and I believe it to a degree as well. Again, I believe a little bit of all this, that the cholesterol is actually there to go in and patch up the damage, like putty and drywall. You punch a hole in the drywall, you got to putty it over. So there's people that say, well, the cholesterol isn't there to come in and patch up the holes. It's a healing molecule. And other people are saying, including Dr. Wallach, that the cholesterol is damaged, and that's why it's getting clogged. Either way, there is cholesterol there, but it's not caused by cholesterol. Dr. Wallach published this back in 1971 when he found clogged arteries full of cholesterol in a mountain goat, or Atlas sheep. It was Atlas sheep from Morocco. And he said, these animals don't eat cholesterol, so how do they have veins full of cholesterol? And he figured it was the oxidized grains that they were eating, getting hot, sitting out there in a metal barrel out in the sun, oxidizing. And he saw this in other animals as well. So that was back in 1971. He's not the only one to point this out as well, that the carnivore animals didn't have the atherosclerosis, but the herbivore animals did because of oxidation. So ever since then, even mainstream medicine, I read lots of books written by regular medical doctors. The free radical theory is the dominant theory right now.
Because it's a circulation problem or not?
Excuse me. Not really, because varicose veins are more of a structural problem. So it's more of just a deficiency of the actual construction building blocks of veins and connective tissue, which is sulfur, vitamin C. You can think C for connective tissue. Copper, it's the one that Dr. Wallach usually points out. Selenium, and some others in there as well. Iron, cofactor here. But these are the main ones. But no, this is more of a structural issue. And this is as well, you need the same nutrients to repair veins and arteries and stuff, but it's really just the abundance. It's how the book's painted. It's purely the abundance of free radicals and the lack of nutrients to deal with them. Like the lack of nutrients to act as an antioxidant. Like vitamin C is an antioxidant. It's one of the antioxidant nutrients, but in this case, it's also involved in actually building the connective tissue. It's just slightly different. If it was being used as an antioxidant, it could combat arteriosclerosis. Yeah, so you've got here just them pointing out this omega-6 thing and omega-3 thing because of the inflammation when we have too much omega-6s in our diet, which is very common. Most people have 10 to 20 times as much omega-6 as omega-3, and it's supposed to be in a 1-to-1 ratio here. So just a big overall dietary imbalance that we have, and we've talked about before. They're just pointing at the rollout in veins there. Here, chromium. Very interesting because chromium is one of the key nutrients that we need for blood sugar. It's part of the glucose tolerance factor molecule, GTF. And of course, diabetes is insulin resistance, right? So it's kind of intolerant to the insulin. So we need glucose tolerance factor to be the opposite, basically, to tolerate, to recognize it and let it into cells. You also need vanadium and zinc, manganese, and some other nutrients as well. But chromium is more well studied, been known for a long time. People have been studying this in the 40s, 50s, 70s. Lithium may have a protective effect in treating sodium imbalances that contribute to atherosclerotic heart disease. Sodium imbalance, I'm assuming they mean there the imbalance between sodium and potassium, which we've talked about before as well. But lithium may help with that. Lithium is a very interesting trace mineral involved in all kinds of things. Silicon may play a vital role in the prevention of atherosclerosis. Interesting. Silicon, of course, is a structural component as well of many tissues. And I've read a whole book actually that argued that silicon content in water is responsible for the blue zones living a long time. They're making the case that people in the blue zones, their water has higher doses of silica, which probably is one factor. So there's going to be more nutrients. Remember my list here, my document is not complete, but there are many nutrients involved. And I should also tell you, EDTA chelation, which is something you do at a clinic, it's not something that we sell. It's also pretty well known, at least in the alternative world, to get rid of clogged stuff that's clogging up the veins pretty quickly. Because much like vitamin C, except more powerful, EDTA binds to things and pulls it out of the body. And it's just apparently very effective short-term treatment for unclogging the veins. And of course, if they don't change the lifestyle, the problem's going to come right back. If they don't stop eating inflammatory foods and being deficient in antioxidants, then the problem's going to come back. But in case, and a lot of people are coming to us.
Quick question about the chelation. Does that just pull minerals like heavy metals and stuff like that out of the blood? What does it do to unclog veins? You know how that works?
I'm not sure on the actual mechanism, if it's an electrical attraction or something, or if it like smothers them and wraps around it, because that's what chelation typically means, that it wraps around, it binds to something. Doesn't necessarily have to remove it. Chelation is just the fact that it binds to it. So I'm not sure exactly how it works, but no, it does not just remove metals. It is the primary thing to do if you do have serious heavy metal poisoning or something like that, lead poisoning or something. You go and get EDTA chelation, which is an IV. It's not a supplement. And no, combined with other things, apparently it combined with the cholesterol that clogs veins as well. I'll look into how it works.
Sure. Sounds like,
you know, EDTA chelation is not a bad idea in general. I know we're here for nutrition and stuff, but people who come to us typically are on the older side. They've had decades and decades of health problems. They've used pharmaceuticals. They've done all the stuff you guys know. They grew up on the standard American diet. They've had nutrient deficiencies for decades. They probably have parasites in them. They probably do have heavy metals in them. It's just one of those things that when you're on this health journey, I think it is worth doing. And this is not usually a one-time thing. Usually you need several sessions to really get the job done, especially if it is full-blown lead poisoning or something like that. But why not? This is one of the consequences of coming so late to the table. We need to go a little bit above and beyond. And I'll be honest with you, I've never done EDTA, but when my wife was recently getting her filling removed, first of all, I really wanted her to get vitamin C IV at the same time, sort of for the same reason, chelation. And I also wanted her to get EDTA that same day. And she did. She got it the same day because, you know, if they're releasing metals from the filling, I just wanted something extra to bind with that. And just assuming that she's had lots of stuff build up in the liver and stuff for her whole life, you know? It's just, it's not the cheapest thing in the book. It's also not the most expensive thing in the book. We're not going to make any money by recommending this, but when people are talking about things that are worth doing, you know, at this stage, they're with us, they're doing the nutrition stuff, and they want to do something extra, especially if they still have lingering symptoms or, you know, cardiovascular disease. This is totally an option. And this can be done in America. It can be done in America. It can be done in
you just have to find somebody to administer the IV, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not like a take-home kit.
Well, no, it's not. Theoretically, you could. An IV is not the biggest deal, but yeah.
Well, they even outlawed IV vitamin C and stuff, like in Colorado and other places in the US.
You're not allowed in Colorado?
Nope. Not anymore. Not as of like 2018 or something like that.
Well, that's lame. Colorado's pretty open and liberal on many things, but yeah, not really on medicine.
Nope.
Well, you can go somewhere in America to do it. You can do it in Mexico too. If you want a clinic to recommend, I can do that. The American Biodental Clinic is where we went.
Do they offer chelation?
They do offer chelation, absolutely, and a variety of other IVs.
You can go down there and get the metal out of your mouth and go through chelation and then head home.
Well, what we promote, what I normally eat, it's much higher in fat. So I'd want to lower the fat. So less or no red meat that month, right? Easy on the red meat.